Greetings, everyone. I'm Mary Conley-Eggert, founder of Global Waterworks, and thrilled to be here with Paul Gagliardo and his partner, Anna Gagliardo, who are experts in innovation. Actually, they run the Water Entrepreneur, and you can find them in their podcast and potentially be a star if you get to know them well. And I'm just thrilled because I got to know Paul or saw him. I didn't even really get to interact because he was up on the podium at their first conference that I attended in water with the California Israel Water Initiative and lending insights from California, where he was leading innovation in San Diego at that time. And so I'm just hoping that you could share a little bit more, Paul, about how you got started in water and we can better understand the path to becoming an innovator.
Thanks. Hi, Mary. Yeah, it's an interesting story. I was working at the city of San Diego, and I didn't realize it, but I was the de facto troubleshooter. Every once in a while, the city manager would pluck me out and send me someplace different. And so I had worked on hazardous waste remediation. I was working at running the landfills because we were running out of landfill space. And one of the senior project managers in the water division left to go to a consulting firm. And I was asked to take over his project, which was about halfway done, a water treatment plant that also was doing research into the infamous toilet to tap, making sewage directly into drinking water. And we also had a grant, one of the oldest clean water grants that was still active. And so I had to finish the construction, do the research work, and clean up the grant project, and knew nothing about water when I was assigned to this. So that's how I got into the business. Baptism by fire, I guess. And Best thing that ever happened to me. The water business is fabulous, and so that was back in 1993, more than 30 years ago, and haven't looked back.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. And I have a little lid to put on your toilet to tap story. Someone recently showed me a picture of a literal toilet tank with a tap on it and asked me the impressions that I had of that. And I said, well, you need to talk to the toilet to tap people because no one actually wants to drink out of the tank of their toilet. But it sounded good as far as expediting things at the time. But
Yeah,
congratulations to you. That was a tremendous innovation. And now,
yeah, it's and now many places are doing it. Singapore, Orange County Water District, and speaking of Orange County Water District, that's how Anna got into the water business. Anna, why don't you tell them your story?
Mhm. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name's Anna Gagliardo. I'm a marketing analyst based in Los Angeles, California. I'm also the producer of the Water Entrepreneur podcast, which we'll talk about later probably. But yeah, so about 3 years ago, I was teaching high school and I was looking to switch careers. And my father, Paul, was looking for a field technician to operate and monitor a pilot device at Orange County Water District. And so that's how I pivoted into the water space. And and yeah, so Paul, you can talk a little bit more about that project if you'd like to.
yeah, that
So
was probably one of your most proud projects, but I know also the water reuse innovation
yeah,
was,
there's I think one of the interesting things is that for both of us, we kind of got into the water business not by design. Whether it was serendipity or being at the right place at the right time. And I think, one of the things that is important is, to one, the water business is great. And two, if you've got the opportunity, grab that opportunity. That's really the key thing that I think you should take from those two stories. But I think the thing I am I've done a lot of things besides that particular project. We developed a research center, and we did a lot of different research into technologies at the what we call the Aqua 2000 Research Center. I was the innovation director at American Water for 9 years. I've I've been a judge with Imagine H2O since 2009. I'm the only OG left. I'm the only original judge that is still judging that particular contest. So I've been involved in the new technology space, ever since then. And I think one of the things that I'm most proud about, besides kind of what I'm doing now, which is always, the um, the baby you have now is always the most favorite one. But is that whole idea of doing that research work, which is still the standard for everybody that's doing direct potable reuse. They're still using that particular set of data, that documentation that proves that the systems work and that the water's safe. And that really to me, probably I look back on my career, even though it was the first thing I did, it stood the test of time. And that's, really interesting. We were at WEFTech and I met one of the folks I worked with there, and we were reminiscing, and it kind of brought it all back home. I hadn't seen him in 25 years, and having that conversation was great. I'll give a shout out to Sam Adham. He and I both cut our teeth on that particular project.
Oh, that is really satisfying to know that it's still standing 25 years later. You added something to the industry that has exponentially expanded our water resources. So that's very cool. Now, the issues you started with when there wasn't much innovation, when I entered, they were talking about, no one innovates in water because no one pays for water, really, or they don't pay enough for water. And now there's so many issues that have come up. What would you say are the most important issues that need to be addressed with innovation today?
That's really an interesting question because there's so many things, whether you're in a kind of a first world country or a third world country, but I'll take the, kind of North American view of the world, European view of the world. One, I think that aging infrastructure is probably our biggest problem because we have to, you can treat all the water you want, make it as perfect and clean as you want, but if the pipes leak, that doesn't do you any good.
Mhm.
And so you need that kind of basic infrastructure to get the water where you want it, and to bring the wastewater back so it can be treated and discharged. So I think that aging infrastructure is critical. Most of the infrastructure was built 50, 75 years ago. Um, it's past its design life.
Mhm.
There's not enough money to invest to replace it all.
Mhm.
And so one of the innovation things we can do is to come up with ways to identify, for example, where leaks are, fix them so you can keep
Mhm.
that pipe in service for a longer period of time. Fixing pipe without digging up the street
Mhm.
saves a lot of money. 90% of the cost of repairing a pipe is digging up the street. So if you can fix it without doing that, you save a lot
Right.
of money. So I think the aging infrastructure is critical. The other thing is, I coined a term when I was giving a speech in Australia called the technology conundrum. And that was related to laboratory analysis. And the better we get at detecting contaminants, whether it's lower concentrations or different kinds of contaminants, microplastics, PFAS, once you find them, you're obligated to do something about it. And so as our monitoring techniques get better, we find more things, and people get more upset that there's things in the water. And then, we have to go through the process like with PFAS. You do health effect studies, you do epidemiological studies, you determine that yes, it's a negative health impact, and now you have to treat for it. So then you start adding on technologies that have to resolve that particular uh,
Mhm.
crisis, if you will. And so I think that's the other piece of the puzzle, whether it's microplastics, whatever it happens to be. We have the lead and copper rule because of the lead
Right.
service line. So all of those things are requiring innovations from a purely public health perspective, which is the prime driver, I think, at the end of the day. So, so for me, those are the things that I think are top of mind. But I'm an old school guy. I've been in the business a long time. There's a lot of things that kind of pass by me. And Anna, you're new in the business. What kind of things do you think are, kind of the most important issues of the day?
Mhm. Yeah, so you were kind of speaking of, the issues like nationally. So like I feel like for me, lately I've been thinking a lot about like the global commitment that is needed to help solve the water crisis. And so my dad has a new series on LinkedIn called Wednesday Water. And last week we spoke about the dire need for more federal funding.
Hmm.
So we need like a global commitment to investment, innovation, and policy reform, because we need to prioritize water as a fundamental human right, for everyone to have access to clean water. And so something I'm really passionate about, and kind of how my dad and I work together, blending old school versus new school way of thinking and approaching issues, is through digital marketing and social media. And so kind of what we do and how we collaborate together is we go to different conferences and we interview different startups and different founders, and we do live interviews, live video content. And so for those like walking the aisles in the conferences, like they'll be able to attend and listen in, and make those connections. And then we post those interviews, and it opens up an opportunity for those to speak their thoughts, and kind of foster collaboration and raise awareness to the issues of today, like all the hot topics like PFAS and microplastics and all that good stuff. So yeah, I think I definitely believe in the power of social media and content creation. We're not on TikTok yet, but hopefully soon.
Maybe you can buy a share. Yeah, and make that possible. But it's a delight to see you guys on the trade show floors. And I encourage anyone who encounters Anna's usually the person you'll see moving about, bringing the action. And but Paul, with your knowledge of what it takes to get to market, being able to counsel these folks. And I think the two of you worked on a project together to sort of help get someone to market. And maybe you could tell about the success you had there, including like writing a paper, which is so important for people to have something published to document results.
Right. And I want to underscore that one particular thing. I always advise my clients that if you're a new technology provider, you have to publish your data. It's absolutely critical. When I was at the research center, we published, every month. As soon as the data was available, we published it. And I think that's really, really critical for customers, engineers, policymakers to believe that whatever you're doing actually works. So we were retained to execute a Bureau Reclamation grant for a new piece of monitoring equipment that the application was to determine or to document virus removal across reverse osmosis membrane. So that was the idea. And the reason why that's important is because there's no real-time monitoring technique that allows you to do that so that you can
Mhm.
actually prove the RO membrane is removing 5 or 6 logs of viruses. And the reason that's important is because then you don't have to put in as much treatment technology. You don't have to spend as much money because you can document that the existing system is working. So we were able to connect with Orange County Water District. They have a research center. We took a prototype unit and spent a year and a half or so testing it at that location. And Anna can go through the gory details because she she was the one on site. She was the boots on the ground. We burned up the phone, with Zoom and FaceTime, kind of discussing, different pieces of the puzzle. But the idea was that we would put the piece of equipment before and after the unit process, collect the data, and then compare the data. A very interesting application for that particular product. And Anna, you can, maybe just explain to people what it's like being out in the field and all the big and little problems that you run into.
Yeah, sure. So it was very interesting to, my first job in the water industry to be a field operator. That was I was definitely the only woman on site. Um,
We
and they're
need more
like,
women in this
who
industry
the heck are
still.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to, wear all the things and the hard hat and the goggles and all that good stuff. But yeah, so the majority of my job was working with the creator of the device, the scientist, the brains behind the operation, who is based in Berkeley. And so I probably performed like, I don't know, like 500 bucket test dilution studies, and made sure that, everything was running smoothly on the plant. And so yeah, it was fascinating to collect data and to conduct research and then help with editing the paper. How many pages is the paper? I can't remember now. It was
I
quite.
think it ended up being about 160, 170 pages, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it
That was
was
a
it
lot.
was very interesting. And then we also had, four advisors involved with the project who have, years of experience. And so learning from them and hearing from them was quite fascinating. And I really enjoy working with engineers and scientists. I find it very refreshing after spending the majority of my years working with kids and working in theater and dance. It's nice to like have a new fresh
Mhm.
with people who share the same passion, like for caring about the environment and making a difference in water quality. So it was really fun, and it was fun to work with my dad. We work well together. So yeah.
It's
And I think
absolutely.
one thing that Anna just mentioned, that the expert panel that we put together
Absolutely.
is
Yeah.
really critical. One, from getting a lot of opinions about what to do and how to do it, and making sure that we were doing the right kind of work. But
Mhm.
also, I think the other piece of the puzzle is this idea of mentoring. And as many years as I've been in the business, I still learn every time I talk to somebody.
Mhm.
And so having those folks talk to us, tell us what they would do, help me out. Obviously, there was great education for Anna. That's how I learned when we ran the research center back in San Diego, when I first got into the business. And that's what we do now with the podcast.
Mhm.
A lot of the podcast is, I call it virtual mentoring. We talk to startup founders and we hear their stories, their personal stories, their technical stories, their
Mhm.
business stories, their financial stories. And if other people are interested in starting a company in the water space, they could listen to the podcast and hear a lot of the things that are, almost impossible to find anyplace else. And you're hearing
Mhm.
it right from the horse's mouth. So that's a big piece of the puzzle. Now we've transitioned a little bit, and we're talking to utility people. I just had a chat today with somebody who is kind of a young professional. She just won an award, and we were chatting about having her on the podcast, and hearing her stories, kind of that middle management people. So you have utility people, NGOs, regulators, startup founders. Hearing all their stories, you get a very good idea of the business, and the people in the business. And I think one of the key things that I've certainly found, and I'd be curious to hear if Anna has the same experience, is that the water business is is very accommodating, is very inclusive from the standpoint of nobody feels like, hey, I know this, I'm not going to share it with you. Everybody shares.
Mhm.
And so that's part of what we're trying to do with the podcast. I don't know, Anna, you at the conferences and things, do you find that people are willing to share whatever they know?
Yeah, I think that people are quite transparent, and this made me think about sort of a new mentor of mine or colleague. Shout out to Chelsea Boozer, who she's like bringing all kinds of new and exciting social media opportunities in the water space. And she has this new sort of initiative. She's calling it Hot Takes, where she's gonna interview people on the conference floor and just shoot from the hip, maybe it's a controversial topic, but if they care to share, go for it. And I think so far people have been sharing. But yeah, I think that, connecting with like Global Waterworks and any sort of community that you can put yourself in, like the more open you are to share, I think people do match that because, you want to connect and especially today, it's really important to foster that connection and to provide mentorship, like, for the podcast provides, you know, just this wonderful wealth of information that's just for free that anyone could
Mm.
listen to. And we have a new project coming up that's really exciting. So maybe that's a good lead in to kind of
Yeah.
to expand
I
our
want
reach as well.
Yeah, I want to hear about that. But first, before we let you go, I want to hear
Sure.
Paul's view of, we often get this question about technology. We have a water crisis. We know that. We also know that there are solutions that exist for virtually every problem. Is there something that can't be solved today that there needs to be innovation on? Do you believe, or do you believe it's more a question of our not seeing everything and being siloed?
I think that there's a solution for every problem. There's no question that that's the case. It's it it one is becomes how do you find it?
Yeah.
If you're a utility person, you're up to your elbows in other problems. It's so hard to kind of just sit back and look and try to search for a solution and then vet that solution. So I think they're there, but it's matching up the solutions with the problems.
Mhm.
I think is the big thing, and then de-risking trying the solutions. So
Mhm.
whether it's a financial risk or it's a process risk, um, it utilities, they don't want to take risks. They want to, be very certain that what they're doing is working, is not impacting public health. So, so by de-risking the testing of solutions, and then understanding the value proposition. So the value proposition is not only money, but also how well does it work, the technical efficacy of the solution. Because some new solutions they're new, but they maybe work 5% better. And is that worth it? Probably not.
Mhm.
So you need something that's going to work maybe a lot better or be a lot cheaper, for
Mhm.
you to make that investment. But matching up the solutions
Mm.
to the problems, I think, is really the key piece of the puzzle. And I wish there were more open source locations where systems could be tested in real life situations, the data published, and have that be just delivered around as much as possible,
Mm.
so that every utility, small or large, could access this information in a non-salesy kind of way. So very objective. Hey, we're an independent third party. We're like Underwriter Laboratory. We tested this piece of equipment. It did this. If it worked, great. If it didn't work, we're going to tell you that too. And I think that's the kind of thing that I think would really help foster um, the deployment of innovation. There is no shortage of innovative companies out there. Absolutely not. There's a million of them. Do they all work? No. Are they all cost effective? No. And that's part of the work that has to be done. And again, that's part of what we do. We talk to technology companies. We try to get them to talk about what they're doing and how they're doing it. Whether it's there's 50 PFAS destruction companies out there. How do you pick? How do you decide which one to use? That's tough. It's really tough. I mean, I wouldn't want to be utility right now trying to pick which one to use. I mean, that is really hard. So I think there are plenty of solutions. It's that roadmap that you have to follow. And I like the work that George Hawkins is doing at Moonshot, where they're providing free support to small
Mhm.
and underserved utilities. They're coming in, looking at their issues, providing expertise, giving them ideas about the kinds of things that they can do. And when I talked to George, he was our 100th episode. Um, he said, it's not the technology, it's not the problem, it's not even matching the two up. It's it's getting the utility, it's the process to put out a spec, get proposals, evaluate the proposals, put the contracts together. That takes 2 years sometimes with utilities.
It
And
does.
and
Yeah.
that's another place where streamlining process could really help things out a lot.
Mhm. Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. And I know that you guys are working on streamlining the process. Our Global Waterworks Tech Showcase is where once they're commercialized and proven and able to scale, we're happy to showcase them. Turnkey solutions like some of the ones you've mentioned. But I would love to hear what's next. And also, where can people find you? And if they have a pitch or a story idea, how do they pitch it to you,
Okay.
Anna?
Anna, do you want to talk about the TV show? Well, it's not TV, sorry.
Okay, maybe.
I'm old school, remember?
Yeah.
Yes, sure. We're in the process of pitching a docu-series to a few streaming services. So this docu-series will
Mhm.
obviously Paul will be the host. And yeah, so the concept is it's a deep dive into pressing water issues impacting us all. So we'll cover like a myriad of topics such as groundwater depletion, dam removal, day zero. We'll speak about, rising seawater temperatures, emerging contaminants. So we're really excited about this project and yeah, stay tuned. And
Mhm.
if you would like to learn more about the project or connect with us, please add either myself, Anna Gagliardo, or Paul Gagliardo on LinkedIn, or email thewaterentrepreneur@gmail.com.
Awesome. Awesome. We'll do that. And when do you anticipate the show might go on? Will that be a 2026 venture or?
We're hoping we are finishing what they call the sizzle reel. So that's the pitch this month. And our hope is that we get in the queue for this upcoming season so that we're hoping that by the end of the summer or by ACE or WEFTEC, we'll be able to announce that we've been picked up and that we'll start producing episodes. So that is our hope. We will, the TV business is, or the film business, whatever you want to call it, is a little more, um, um, there's more competition
Mhm.
Cutthroat.
Yes, right.
than there is in the podcast business. I mean, any and anybody can start a podcast, right? I mean, it takes some gumption and some value for it to keep going for
Resources.
2.5 years, but getting a show picked up on TV is a little tougher. So, but that's our hope is that we've got the connections, we think we've got a good idea, and it's no one's ever done it before, as far as a docuseries on water. So we think it has legs. If anybody's interested in helping us out from a sponsorship perspective, whether with the podcast or the streaming series, please let us know. Also, we have a website, thewaterentrepreneur.org, where anybody can look at other content that we've generated. So that's another place to look at us. And Anna, which podcasts locations are we on?
We're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I highly encourage just talking to Paul or Anna, I mean, to make sure that you have all your ducks in a row to understand the industry. If you're an entrepreneur, you can get great tips, plus potential show or exposure, or maybe you might be featured in their TV or docu-series. I'm old school too, Paul. So, well, great
Old
to be
school
with you
versus new
guys.
school.
Yeah, we need the new school, and we need to bring the students in here. So hopefully that will come full circle with you, Anna, where you can bring what you're knowing here out back to the schools. So I think
Yeah,
that'd be a
absolutely.
good show.
Absolutely. Yeah, we look forward to any potential collaboration with the Waterworks community. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, we hope to
Mary,
feature
for this
you.
opportunity.
So, and then people can ask their questions and you can be in discussions. And we have a huge group of very innovative waterpreneurs who you can tap as sources for future episodes. But thanks again. Really always good to see you guys. And I hope to do more of this with you.